On today's episode, we have the new 2022 BMW 430i Grand Coupe. It's coming up right now on Driving Sports GT. When BMW introduced the new 4 Series a few years ago, this was the problem. People didn't like the grille. So for this new Grand Coupe, BMW's toned it down just a little bit. Combine that nose with the longer body, and I think you end up with a 4 Series that looks the best. Yes, this is the best looking modern 4 Series. But how does it drive? We're gonna find out in just a little bit, but first let's check out all the features. Under the hood is a twin-power turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder. It puts out 255 horsepower and 294 pound-feet of torque. It is connected through an 8-speed automatic transmission, and here it powers the rear wheels. And our test car even has the optional rear limited slip differential. EPA rates this setup at 25 miles to the gallon in the city and 34 on the highway. Our test car is equipped with a number of options. Prices you see it here, $56,300 US, including destination. In the back, you get a surprising amount of cargo capacity. Behind the second row, you get 16.6 cubic feet. Fold the second row down, and now you're looking at 45.6, which is amazing for a 4-door coupe sedan thing. Back here, you also get a 12-volt socket. Check that out. Okay, second row. Yeah, it's a little on the snug side. I mean, it is a coupe style 4-door, so the sloping roofline just is a problem. However, I do kind of fit. This seat is where I would be sitting if I were driving. I'm 6'1", legs torso proportionate, and I do have some knee room. My feet are hitting the underside of the chair in front of me. So if you have tall teenagers, they may not like it back here. Also, there's kind of this weird angled slope. I feel like this back seat is tilting me towards the inside. I don't know if I would like that for long trips. It just doesn't feel very planted. Still, the design of the door is rather nice looking. It has a Harman Kardon speaker back here, as well as another speaker up here. Down here, I have climate control, as well as 2 USB-C sockets. Here, I have a fold-down armrest with pop-up cup holders. Okay, let's see what the front is like. Well, this is familiar. Pretty much every BMW looks and feels the same these days, even this 430i. Let's power it on. Sounds pretty good. This thing is obviously not a speed machine. If you want the fast one, you really need to look at the 440i with its turbocharged 6. This one has so many options, I have to read them to you. It starts at $45,200, but this has the $550 Sunset Orange Metallic paint, the Oyster Vernasca leather for $1,450. Yeah, that's $1,450. It has the dynamic handling package, which has the M Sport differential, as well as the M brakes with the red painted calipers. The Shadowline package, $400. M Sport package, $3,550. That gives variable sport steering, as well as the Sensatech dashboard. Further, we have parking assistance for $700, the premium package for $2,000. And one thing that I'm really surprised to see here, a $995 credit for deletion of the power seats. I've never seen that on a BMW. Is it because of the chip shortage? Possibly. That might have been a way for them to get rid of a few chips here. To me, it seems like it's more complicated than just putting in the electronics. Well, you get the point. The seat is like super comfortable, and it really grabs me. And then this leather is amazing. Yeah, just overall the effect of the seats, the textures, the materials, this is a very premium cabin. and I love it. Now, it does look like every other BMW, so there is that. If you've driven a BMW in the last couple years, this will be what you expect. It's just in a different shape package on the outside. This steering wheel is one of the most comfortable that you can buy today. The leather is amazing. The controls are simple yet easy to use, and you get paddle shifters to control the automatic transmission. I even get a steering wheel warmer right there, and then I get the M badge down below. In addition to a digital gauge cluster with a heads-up display that I can control things right here. I love that actually that the heads-up display is color. You don't see that very often, but they do use it sparingly because they don't want it to be a distraction. As far as the gauge cluster itself, there's not a lot of customization you can do, but that's okay. I actually really like the BMW design here. Over here we have the infotainment screen, and it's not ginormous by modern standards, but it does provide all the functionality that you want. I love that you can really configure different looks as far as what panels are represented in your main display. That's really cool. So you kind of have some quick home displays that you can configure. Here I can control media, which is very visual. I can click over, it's all very nice. And then I have terrestrial radio as well. Moving down, I have navigation, and this system is pretty good. Let's do a go to. So though you can write in individual locations, I personally find that using voice commands in these modern BMWs is a better option. Hey, BMW, find the nearest Starbucks.
I have found several destinations.
There we go. Just click it, and away we go. Let's see what else it can do. How old is Britney Spears?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, you can only really do commands here that are actually applicable to the vehicle. Hey BMW, set the temperature to 80 degrees.
All right, I'm setting the temperature on the driver's side to 80 degrees Fahrenheit.
So you can not only use it for navigation, you can also use it for controlling your cabin while you're driving, which is great. I also get a traditional volume knob. I have 3 stages of heat, which is easily accessible here. And then if I want to see what active safety stuff is active, I just hit the little button right there, and I can configure all of it from forward collision mitigation, lane departure warning with steering intervention. This does not have adaptive cruise control, which I still think is kind of annoying considering how expensive this vehicle is, but you do get active blind spot detection, which you can adjust how many levels that you want. Also, if you go into reverse, you get a really cool looking backup camera with a surround view. You can enable backup assist, and another thing here is you can actually turn on a 3D view, which is pretty neat, where you can wrap around the car and see exactly where it is in the context of the environment in which you are sitting. That's really cool. It even works as you start moving. So it really helps you kind of get into more difficult parking spots or out of difficult situations at low speeds, because of course once you get up to speed, it disables it. This vehicle also has a number of different drive modes: Sport, Comfort, Eco, Pro, and Adaptive, but we'll get into those once we start driving. So this also supports Apple CarPlay. Let me just go to a device here. Continue, use Apple CarPlay. Allow. And now we have Apple CarPlay. For this, I can use either the iDrive Commander or I can use the touchscreen. And it does look amazing on this screen. I love this setup. And of course, it's wireless, which is awesome. Once it's hooked up, I can then charge it in the included pad below. Just to wrap up features, we have a nice sunroof. I also get visors that flip around. Hello. Okay, now I think we're ready to go. Let's see how this thing drives. And do you really need to step up to the 440i? Or is the 430's little 4-cylinder turbo good enough? So it started to rain, but we're going to do a 0 to 60 anyway. And I am going to do this using launch control. Now I'm going to go into sport mode and then hit traction and then slot this over to sport, and then we're good to go. I then hold down brake as hard as I can, Throttle all the way and release the brake. Go! Whoa. Okay, it skitters a little bit because of course this is rear wheel drive. Now, a 0 to 60 in the rain doesn't make a lot of sense. Luckily, a couple days ago, I did a 0 to 60 in the same spot in the dry. Let's watch that. On that run, I got a 6-second flat, which is pretty good considering this is not the high-end model. This is, of course, the 430i. It is the entry-level version of this particular BMW. And does that mean that it's super slow and no fun to drive? Of course it doesn't. It's a BMW, and all the modern BMWs kind of drive the same. And that's a good thing because I like their handling characteristics overall, especially when equipped with rear-wheel drive. It just suits these vehicles so nicely. So this 4 Series is based on the 3 Series. The difference being that the 4 is kind of the more stylized coupe style vehicle, or coupe depending on where you are in the world. When the 430 first came out, it was only available in a 2-door coupe. This is the Grand Coupe, or coupe, which means that it has 4 doors. It is basically a hatchback version of a 4-door sedan. And I like it. The nose, not my favorite thing, but I think in this specific package, it actually works okay. Overall, the effect is a car that looks sporty and unique. So this cockpit is very comfortable. The materials are great, the display is good, visibility is excellent. I like that they gave me a cutout on that C-pillar back there. And the seat is very supportive. I am planted in this thing. And even though it's leather, I don't really slide around at all. And it's because of these really aggressive bolsters on the side. Now it is an interesting choice that this particular test vehicle has a $995 credit for not having power seats. I think that if I'm buying one of these, I would definitely opt for the power seats if I had that option. Now this does of course have various drive modes. I mostly drive around in this vehicle in sport. I can floor it and yeah, you know, it's not quite enough power to skid the back around. Let's see if we can do a burnout. Keep my foot on the brake. And see if I can do anything. Can I? No, can't do a burnout. It's just not fast enough. You really need to go up to the 440i for that ability. But, you know, let's look at who this vehicle is targeting. Well, I think that for the most part, it's going to be targeting a slightly younger buyer, somebody who doesn't want an SUV, but also doesn't have a family. Yet they probably have sports equipment or they want to go for a weekend away and you need the extra space in the back. I think this vehicle suits really well. Now, that second row is a thing. It does exist. But if you're carting adults around, it's not really ideal because this vehicle is really not that much bigger than the 3 Series it's based on. But I think it looks better, and for me, it's a lot more practical. Just having that much space in the back is a win. Also, I think it doesn't really compromise the looks, and in fact, I think this is the best looking 4 Series you can buy. So on the freeway here, I do have the option to use cruise control, but it is a standard cruise control. Yeah, even at over 50 grand, this does not have adaptive cruise control, which is disappointing. I can set my speed and set it, and there we go. Now I do like how up on the gauge cluster, it illuminates in green what my target is. But it doesn't actually slow down if I get behind a vehicle. I will just run into the vehicle if I'm not paying attention. Not like most people need that, but for state-to-state travel, or if you're doing a lot of highway driving, adaptive cruise control is a godsend. And yeah, it is an option available on this vehicle, but our test vehicle does not have it. And at this price point, I think it should. Now let's turn off the road and see how this thing handles in the twisty parts. We have a variety of different settings here: Sport, Comfort, Eco Pro, and Adaptive. Now if we go to Adaptive, it'll automatically adjust as we want it to. But now let's go up to Sport and go to Configure Individual, and this is where we can see all the stuff we can adjust on this vehicle. So the dampers are adjustable, steering is adjustable, The engine output, adjustable. Transmission is also adjustable. That's in how long it holds a gear for before it changes gears. Does it be more aggressive on the downshifts? Stuff like that. So you can see that the vehicle dynamics here actually do touch a lot of parts of the vehicle. The benefit of going with the 430i and not the more powerful 440i is simply the fact that this gets better MPGs. Yeah, you're looking up to 34 miles to the gallon on the highway, which is pretty good for a performance sedan. It's not something that you would normally expect in this class. That's actually making this vehicle pretty economical, all things considered. A couple things I would definitely get on this vehicle though are the dynamic handling package, which adds in the rear limited slip differential and also upgrades the brakes. I would also get the sport. It's one of the M packages that gives the variable sport steering. That is a really nice feel. And it's quite extraordinary just how much this wheel tightens up when you start going faster. So let's go through the different drive modes. Starting in Eco Pro, it really mushes up the steering. I mean, it still steers fine. It's just, you know, it's way lighter on that, the way that the turn-in happens. Also, the dampers really feel a lot softer. Now let's go to Comfort. Yeah, we still have the soft dampers, but now we have steering that is a little bit spunkier. Now let's go up to Sport, and at this point, it improves output on the engine. It also stiffens up those dampers, so there's less body roll in the corners. Oh yeah, I like this feeling a lot. The steering wheel feels so good. Not only just the leather, but just the turn-in, and also it's holding those gears. It's like, yeah, it keeps it within the power range. Of course, there's also paddle shifters, so if I want to manually roll my own, I can just flick here. Let's see how quick these are. Wow, that's really quick. Downshift. It's like instantaneous. Oh man, I do really enjoy this car. You know, you don't need the fastest of everything to have fun with a vehicle. Even something like a 430i, it's with its nice chassis and really great options. I mean, this is a super fun car to drive. I mean, clearly this chassis can handle a lot more than what the 430 throws at it in terms of horsepower. It's really nice to be able to appreciate a chassis without having to drive at the limit. And with a 440i, the limit is much higher than with this 430 because this little turbo 4-cylinder, it's in the fun to drive category. And this vehicle is fun to drive. The next level up, that is just really fun to drive. You can do burnouts, you can slide it sideways, you can do all the kinds of things that you can't really do with a vehicle with this limited amount of horsepower. So does it make sense to get a 430 over a 440? Well, yeah, there's a couple benefits. Number one is price. I don't have the math directly done, but I think it's about $13,000 less for this vehicle. That's because the 440 is currently only available with all-wheel drive. This vehicle is the way you get it with rear-wheel drive. Now, I do believe that BMW does have a rear-wheel drive 440 coming out, but it's not out yet. The second reason to consider this vehicle is, of course, economy, because you're looking at up to 34 miles to the gallon on the highway, which is pretty economical for a sporty BMW. As for the rest of the vehicle, it's all stuff I've talked about before. I like the interior. This infotainment system, I've been running wireless CarPlay for several days, haven't had a single issue with it, which is very rare for me to be able to say. They seem to have actually gotten wireless CarPlay working properly, which I like because I use that a lot. I get in the vehicle, boom, automatically connects. I like this digital gauge cluster. Yes, it's part of one of the option packages, but it also looks great, and I like how they integrate the map into it. And as an added bonus, once I bring a destination up on Apple CarPlay using wireless CarPlay on my mobile device, it'll actually put turn-by-turn directions up not only in the gauge cluster, but also on the heads-up display. That is really nice, tight integration. Some systems don't support sharing data with CarPlay, and then you wouldn't get this stuff. But here I have turn-by-turn directions. It's really nice. Now, most people these days are looking for crossovers. So obviously, if you want a crossover, this may not be the vehicle for you. But if you wanted a crossover because you wanted the flexibility of a large boot, this actually might be the car you were looking for. Of course, not all is perfect. This one does not have the mild hybrid system that some other BMWs have. So, coming to a complete stop, we wait for it to shut off the engine, I hit go, and when you hit the timing wrong, it just doesn't feel very good. It's a lot of sputtering on the start. Does it kill the 4 Series for me? Well, not really, because you can just hit a button right down here to turn off that auto start stop. And I actually don't mind auto start stop when it's smooth. And you always need some level of a hybrid system to really get a good smooth start stop, because you need that electric motor to really get things moving. So if you're looking for a car that isn't a crossover but is fun to drive, has a lot of flexibility in the back, and is in the luxury segment, this BMW 430i Grand Coupe is a great choice. For Driving Sports GT, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoy them.